Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you for joining us again this week to hang out, have some beers, have some conversation. We appreciate it very much. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm a little flustered by technology or all stuff that makes the streaming and the recording and all that happen. I shouldn't be because I work
Technical difficulties is what they call it, Brian. So, yeah, it was fun. We're a little late with our live stream this week. Fortunately, that doesn't impact the podcast.
Does not.
So we'll be fine there. But we're up and running now. We think everything seems to be working the way it's supposed to.
Find out soon enough.
Yeah. We'll find out. Well, Brian, we survived the 4th of July. Both of us did, which is good. That is the goal of the 4th of July. And I think really any day of the week. That's kind of the goal, is to survive it. But did you do anything fun for the 4th?
So the only thing, not really. So I saw they put off fireworks for some reason the evening of the 3rd of July. And so I watched those on the 3rd. Technically, they were completely over by midnight. So after that, it was just, hanging out and recuperating a bit from probably drinking a little too much. But, I did do one thing on the 4th that I thought was notable. I made something I'm calling Colorado Cold Brew, Tim.
Colorado Cold Brew. Okay.
Yeah, or you call it Colorado Coffee. It's inspired by, the name is inspired by a cocktail I was making for the 4th called the Colorado Kool-Aid. So I figured I would stay in that theme. But it was inspired also by a short video on social media I saw where some guy was making a pour over coffee with Guinness instead of water. And it was gross, apparently. I saw the reaction at the end. He basically dumped the bottle directly into coffee grounds and let it drain through, and it was terrible. It was clear to me that they didn't have any idea what the heck they were doing with that. So I saw potential there. I knew that there would be an approach that could potentially work, and I found one that worked pretty well. I went for a light lager, so I was trying to find something like a cream ale or a Kolsch. I happened to have Coors Banquet left over from the Colorado Kool-Aid, so I used that. And I did control pours over my coffee grounds. I even did a steep for about 3 minutes on the first one. And it was about 20 grams of coffee, medium grind. And it had great flavor, had really pronounced coffee flavor. It had way more caffeine than necessary. And I liked it, though. I liked it.
You're saying things like controlled pours and that, like we're all coffee nerds, Brian.
That's true, yeah. I mean, what I mean is instead of just dumping the whole thing over the grounds and letting them drain through, I have a basket, a pour over basket that closes so you can let things steep in there. So I had like a 3-minute steep for like a first third of the can on the beans to extract a bunch of that coffee flavor and caffeine, as it turns out. And then after that, I gradually poured it over and let it drain. So, I do forget. I do obsess about coffee a bit, but if you've ever seen people do a pour over, I basically did it with Coors Light instead of water, and it came out pretty well. And it was strong enough that were it my first drink of the day, it would have worked as my coffee of the day as well. So
I struggle to believe that doing a pour over. Now, see, I saw your pictures of this when you did it, Brian, and I thought you had brewed coffee and then added it to your Coors, but you used Coors as your quote brewing water. That sounds horrendous. I don't believe you. I don't believe that it was good. I think you're telling yourself it was. Be honest. We're friends, Brian. You can be truthful with me.
It was good. It was, the problem was I was well caffeinated, and it was pushing me over the limit for how much caffeine I could tolerate reasonably. It was irritating my stomach and all. There's too much. It's too much. Good coffee flavor. I want to do it with a Jenny Cream. I want to do it with a Kolsch or something like that. And I want to scale it back a little bit. I want, coarser ground so that it flows faster through. It doesn't extract as much, and a little less steeping time, because it had a lot of coffee flavor. It had a lot of caffeine. It would be easy to scale that back and have something that was still a very good coffee beer. And
the beer was cold when you poured it over?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because I know a cold brew, you need a long extraction to get the proper thing there. So using the beer as your brewing water, didn't that warm the beer up?
Yes. I mean, the grounds would have warmed the beer up slightly. The thing is,
was it still a cold beer?
I used to. Well, hold on. I think I used No, I used a cold beer. I'm pretty sure I used a cold beer. And the thing you're not taking into account is alcohol will extract. It will extract, whereas with regular water, you're not going to get that extraction by way of alcohol. So alcohol was pulling out the caffeine and the flavor as well. So it's not purely, yes, if it were just water, there's no way like a 3-minute steep would have done anything. But I think it was just enough. There was enough alcohol in the beer to just extract stuff. It came out well, and it was a cold, drinkable coffee beer. Just it was way too strong. That's all.
All right. Well, good, man. I'm glad that worked out for you with your little science experiment there.
I hope somebody else tries it and lets me know what they think of it.
Yeah, I also hope someone else tries it and lets us know.
Lighter, sweeter beers, the cream ales, that sort of thing. Yeah. I think this is something that could work really well. Did you do anything interesting for the 4th of July?
I did not, man. No. Okay. So I actually took it easy this year. I was going to go out and I just said, no, I'm not going to do it. I took it lazy. I played some video games and I think I had the traditional. Actually, you know what I did? I got there's a little joint down from me, a little cheapy local burger place that's been here like 70 years. And I got a burger and a hot dog from them and some fries. So I'm like, I'm going to grill out. So it was, I wasn't sad, but it sounds like a sad 4th of July, not doing anything and just ordering some Uber Eats burger and hot dog. But
did you live stream any fireworks at least?
I did not live stream any fireworks. So as you know, Brian, I am right next to, well, I forget the name of the church, actually. It's a big Baptist. I think it's just Woodstock Baptist Church.
Oh, yeah.
The name of it. And it is lovingly referred to as Six Flags Over Jesus. It's one of the largest Baptist churches in the Southeast, from what I hear. So, but the last couple of years, our city has done the fireworks at the church. Now, the problem is wherever they set the fireworks off, I can't see them, but I can hear them. And so I think they did theirs. And I'm wondering why they didn't do stuff on the 4th, because the 4th was on a Friday this year.
It's a Friday.
So that should have been the perfect time to do it, because they did them like Thursday. I don't know, but they didn't do them on the 4th for some reason. I don't know. But and it was like 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, it must have been a pretty substantial display here. And the grand finale, man, that had to be a solid 3 to 5 minutes of just continuous boom. So I kind of wish I'd strolled over to the church and looked, or I think I probably could have just repositioned myself in my yard somewhere and seen them. But so I just got a lot of noise. So that was my 4th. I had a burger, I had a hot dog, and noise on the 3rd.
So you did enjoy the fireworks, I guess so. By hearing only. Okay.
Yeah, I guess so. When it happened last year, I complained online. I was like, well, who is setting off that many fireworks? What's going on? And somebody said, well, that's the city's fireworks. They do them at the church now. Like, oh, I didn't know. And last year it was on a Sunday, I think, that they did it. And, it doesn't get dark till 9:30, getting close to 10 there. So like, I'm trying to go to bed to get up and go to work, and the fireworks go off. So I was a crotchety old man last year about it. I emailed the church and told them their God was not happy with them.
Yeah. Why would they? So why there's a Friday night and they move it to the Thursday to fire off?
I don't know what they're doing.
If it happens on a Sunday, nope, it has to happen on the Sunday. Why not a Saturday?
I don't even think it was the 4th.
What is even going on with that?
I don't even think that it was the 4th on that Sunday. And but anyhow, so that's our 4th of July adventures. As you can see, Brian and I really took advantage of the holiday.
Yeah, exactly. So much fun.
Well, Brian and y'all, we didn't mention this. We got to talking about coffee beers, but Nate is out this week. So as you may have noticed already, so Brian and I will be holding down the fort. We've had a lot of that going here lately. One of us out. So Brian, you've been pretty steady there, but
knock on wood, I've been fine.
Yeah, hold on.
I really don't want anything to happen. Please let me stay fine for
absolutely. Future. Brian, let's move on to our beers of the week. What are you sipping on this week, Brian?
Yeah, my pregame beer was Sierra Nevada's Rad Little Thing, which is, I think I got this can from Nate, actually, Mo Mike Nate. Anyway, I don't know where I got it from, but it was an interesting beer. It strikes me as the original New England IPA that everybody brewed when New England IPAs first became popular. They call it, they say it's combining West Coast hop flavors of pine and citrus with the smooth East Coast haze. So on the can, it says it's a West Coast IPA. On Untapped, it says it's a New England hazy IPA. So, it's a combination of the two. And this does seem like we're going backwards a bit, but it was good. It was a fine beer. I don't know if the haze really contributed anything there, but yeah, whatever. Right now, I'm drinking Breakside's My Homie, which is a West Coast IPA with cashmere, nectaron, and mosaic hops, and it's drinking very nicely. And later on, when we were talking to the Patreon folks in the after show there, I am going to be getting into Foam Brewers Built to Spill, which is a New England double IPA. So that is my plan. Man. Are you drinking something NA or what do you?
I am drinking something NA. Again, if y'all haven't heard, beer has not been agreeing with me lately. I've had some health issues throughout the year and some various medications, and it's extremely disappointing. What I was going to do, Brian, and I need to remember to do this, is I believe we were out one time and I had a sour beer, and it didn't have issue for me. So
Tritonia, maybe?
I think it was Tritonia, Creature Comforts Tritonia, a cucumber lime sour that they do. But I have a mini bottle of 375 of Dre Fontaine. And so I'm going to have to chill that down and see if I can, maybe I'll just have to go all goose and lambic with my drinking. So we'll see.
That's the opposite of when people have stomach issues around beer. Yeah. It's usually the opposite. Oh, those sour beers really throw me for a loop. I have to stick to lagers and IPAs and stouts and things. So like, no, you're the other way around. No, I need it sour, real sour, basically sour. Yeah.
Well, the problem is you and I have talked about it, but I haven't been able to isolate exactly what the issue is. And I even tried an NA beer that I didn't feel good after drinking it.
Really?
Like, well,
okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know if it's the hops or because then I had the sour beer that was fine. So, Brian, I have no idea. Nothing makes any sense. The world is upside down. Left is right. But I'm going to keep experimenting and see. I mean, I guess there's worse things than being stuck drinking gooses and lambics and that. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But until then, Brian, I'm sipping water tonight as the most pathetic beer guy in the world.
That's okay. I'm drinking enough beers for both of us.
I'll drink enough for all of us. You got enough beer and enough alcohol for both of us, right?
Yeah, I've got it.
Good stuff.
It's fine. Man.
Well, Brian, we were talking about Guinness in our intro there and the absolute horror of brewing a coffee with them. But if you thought making coffee with Guinness was weird, what are your thoughts on waffles with Guinness?
I have thoughts. Yeah. So let's bring people up to speed on it. And I kind of need to try brewing beer with Guinness at some point, maybe using that process. But anyway, another Guinness related video is going viral or viral-ish this week. And no G's were split this time around. A YouTuber called Ordinary Sausages. You ever heard of this guy, Tim? Guess he's maybe popular.
I don't know who that is.
I'm not down with all the popular people, but he's getting a lot of attention for creating waffles with Guinness. I've seen the video, and the recipe appears to be a pint of Guinness and some unspecified amounts of powdered waffle mix, sloppily mixed together with a fork, and cooked on a broken waffle maker. So very highbrow stuff. Here's the thing, according to the YouTuber, who is clearly insane, you got to point that out, the waffles are actually good. He says the stout reportedly makes the waffles very fluffy and gives them an extra richness. And he says he doesn't taste any alcohol in them at all. And I think that when I'm drinking Guinness, I'm really not tasting much of the way of alcohol specifically either. So I think that's a safe bet. So
no, here's something though, Brian, that we've talked about before with NA beers and that, and Guinness is actually a great example of that. You may not taste the alcohol, but I believe you can taste the lack of alcohol. So
true.
That's an issue. But this one doesn't surprise me in the least. It doesn't surprise me in the least that a waffle made with Guinness would be tasty. Bringing that richness of the dark malts and such in there. And I know there's something like when they do like beer batter fish, that there is something the alcohol does. I think maybe it helps crisp it. I forget exactly, but yeah, there is a reason other than just adding a can of beer to your batter to do that. But I forget exactly what that is. But so that doesn't surprise me in the least that would be tasty.
What's funny is the write-up made this sound like it was the grossest, weirdest thing ever and that you'd wind up going to the hospital. I'm like, are you serious? Like, people put beer in like food all the time. And
this one doesn't.
Thing, yeah.
This one sounds wild because of maybe the person that did it and the way they went about it. Like using a janky fork, throwing some waffle mix in there, a broken waffle iron. It sounds like the execution. There that would be the.
I should say that the video made it appear as though he sneezed on the waffle maker in lieu of using like a Pam cooking spray on it. I know he didn't. I know he just sprayed cooking spray on it, but he did make a sneezing noise. So I'm sure that added to the grossness factor of it. But honestly, I'm down for it. If I had a waffle maker and any inkling of making this kind of thing, I would do it.
Yeah,
I would. I hope at some point to try it. Maybe it'll go super viral and people will actually have it on menus.
Yeah. Well, like malt waffles are a thing, like just putting some malt powder in there, and they're quite good, Brian. I don't know. So there's a joint, Brian, it's been a long time since you've been there, but there's a place here called Papado's that does a brunch buffet on the weekend. Hey, do you recall the waffles at Papado's?
No,
they're malted. So, and that does add some flavor, and I think lightness, but definitely some flavor to it. So
I want to go back there again sometime soon and check that out, because that sounds. I don't think I did, because with their buffet they have the spread of seafood and all the other. So I focused on the
not interested in the waffle,
the high value things, but knowing there's something intriguing going on with the waffles, I'm into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Dang.
Cool. But overall, Brian, I am in support of Guinness Waffles.
That makes two of us. So yes.
Yeah, Brian. So we've got some news, brewing news. We're talking about way too many closers here lately and everything that's going on, but Alamo has announced that they're out of their bankruptcy and they're releasing a beer, a collaboratory or inspirational beer, right, Brian?
Yeah, it's kind of a wild story. So Alamo Beer, Alamo Beer Company in San Antonio was in bankruptcy and they were put up for auction. I think they went into bankruptcy 4 or 5 months ago and recently went put up for auction. And at the time when the brewery went into bankruptcy, they had like $9.3 million in assets and $24.8 million in liabilities. So that's pretty terminal, I think. An Australian private equity firm outbid St. Arnold Brewing to buy the brewery for $3.75 million. Reportedly, the property alone is worth $7.3 million. So it seems like a pretty good buy. Where things get interesting is the brewery had a licensing deal, I think from before they went bankrupt, with Disney/Hulu to make an official King of the Hill beer called Alamo beer. Did you ever watch the show?
King of the Hill? Yeah, I've seen King of the Hill.
I've seen it, but I don't remember. I think apparently that is the beer they drank in the show, the Alamo beer, and it will definitely be featured in upcoming, episodes. But for reasons that aren't clear, the new owners, the Australian private equity firm, are apparently on tap to pay $60,000 in fees to Disney for the rights to do this, and they're going to do it. I assume this is because the fees were never paid because they went into bankruptcy, and it's not a situation where the owners have to pay the fees again simply because they're different owners. But maybe that's how that works. I don't know. With Hollywood, I'm never sure with the contractual type of stuff there. But anyway, the new King of the Hill beer, which is being reported on every single news website in the world, like seriously twice, 2 or 3 times, it launches later this month at the brewery. The release will roughly coincide with the reboot of the popular show on Hulu at the beginning of August, so there'll be new episodes of King of the Hill. The word is the distribution it'll be available in Texas first, and there will be national distribution at some point in the future, or there are plans for it. So you can get your King of the Hill beer. So this brewery seriously went from nearly completely out of it, like gone, a thing of the past, to being probably one of the most spoken about breweries in the country for like the past week, at least on news
give
websites.
Them something to talk about, Brian.
Yeah,
that's what they say. So I don't believe Alamo Beer distributed nationwide prior to this, did they? So
no, I don't think so.
Nationwide rollout. I mean, that's a big, that's a huge Lazarus there to go from bankrupt to King of the Hill beer to national distribution. That
crazy. Is also a good one. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, from probably being I'm guessing mostly just Texas to being all over the country. That's pretty wild. So that's quite the Lazarus move right there.
Way to go, Alamo.
Yeah.
That's good stuff for them. Well, Brian, we want everything to be accessible to people, and we found out, a typical beer can or bottle, there's not a lot to it if you're trying to see what it is, and you may be vision impaired. But good news, we just found out some Johns Hopkins engineering students have invented a Braille beer label printer.
Yes, they have a Braille beer label printer. And I was kind of surprised when I saw this, that it wasn't already a thing. And I did a little Googling, actually, to make sure this wasn't, we invented, peanut butter and jelly. Like, oh, hey, it's already exists,
Right.
Or we invented vacations. What was that
that's
story?
right.
What was that story?
Gosh, something they call, I forget the way they put it, but they called it like a
mini retirement
or something like that. We're always hearing about, Brian, I got y'all. All right, we're going to take a sidebar here.
Okay, yeah.
Brian and I have joked many, many times that Gen Z discovers things and gives them a new name, like stuff that already exists. And unfortunately, I am failing to remember right now some of the other ones. But there was a new zebra stripe. What was that? I forget. That was a beer,
that's alternating
and then
a beer and a water, or
right?
something non-alcoholic, which is something
zebra
I've done
striping,
since like the 90s.
Right.
So yeah.
But the other day I was strolling around looking at news stories and that, and I found something that said that, let's see, I had micro retirements. Micro retirements. And this was, I'll give the credit, quote unquote, to Fast Company. This was posted on Fast Company. And it says, while retirement typically occurs after completing a career in saving and investing for it, a new trend is emerging among Gen Z career professionals called micro retirement. Micro retirements involve taking a 1 to 2 week break from work every 12 to 18 months. Gen Z has discovered vacation, bro.
They've invented vacations. That didn't exist before now. Nobody did something like that. Crazy.
I think even quiet quitting, that was just goofing off at work, right? They just gave it a name.
Yeah.
So Gen Z, you're a source of constant entertainment for us.
Was that Gen Z or was that millennials?
Millennials? I don't know. Are they the same thing pretty much?
Honestly, at our age, yes.
Distinction at our age, they are, right? Just like we're boomers to them, Brian.
Yes, so exactly. They call us boomers. No, we're not boomers. Like boomers are like really, really old now. We're like kind of old right now.
Right, exactly. We're Gen X. You're Gen X, aren't you? Didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you fall in Gen X? All right.
I technically, I'm towards the end of it, but yeah, I am.
But you are Gen X, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be
Gen X
super elder times, millennial, if anything. But no, I'm definitely within the cutoff for that. So I very much more identify with Gen X by far than the millennial stuff. Didn't like some of the stuff they did. They did a lot. They pushed craft beer a lot. So I do.
Who, millennials?
Yeah.
Or Gen X? I think we were
millennials and Gen X both, but millennials were down with it. They were pushing the craft. They were pushing the craft angle hard, like the handlebar mustaches and the leather smocks.
Oh,
artisan toilet paper rolls and all that. Yeah.
When we had hipsters. That's right.
Yeah.
What happened to the hipster, man? That was a short-lived thing.
I don't know.
Are there still hipsters? Are you still out there?
Shave their mustaches.
All right, y'all. We have sidebarred enough there, so we're going to bring it back in. But we were talking about how engineering students at Johns Hopkins invented a Braille beer label printer.
Yeah. So, and I was saying, I Google this thinking, I can't believe this isn't a thing already. And Google does tell me that several can manufacturers can produce cans with Braille on top of the can, but not on the side. So the very lid of the can, they can. Well, there's a lot of cans in that sentence there.
Can.
Anyway, the printer is capable of punching Braille text into various materials, including plastic beer labels, obviously, cardstock and glossy mailers, which commercial Braille printers cannot accommodate. But wait, there's more. The printer is also designed so blind and visually impaired people can operate it. So it can be operated by the blind for the blind. The students printed 400 labels for a beer called Blind Spot for Checker Spot Brewing Company in Baltimore. And that beer is part of a fundraiser for vision loss. And they gave the printer to the organization Blind Industries and Services of Maryland at the end of their spring semester. So that was very recent. Apparently, it's designed to work with that organization's specialized word processing software as well as Photoshop. So that's probably going to get a lot of use. Like that's going right to an organization that probably has a lot of vision impaired people and will be supporting vision impaired people. So this is a really good story all around.
That is surprising that didn't exist, though, isn't it? Like it just sounds like something that we should have been able to do here.
Nobody thought glad
someone finally thought of it.
Yeah,
good
this
stuff.
Is one thing. this is one thing Gen Z invented that actually didn't exist already.
There you go, man. There you go. It's we've talked about it a little bit, Brian, with accessibility and that the one thing that I've heard that is a big issue is like American currency, American paper currency, because I think a lot of other countries make their bills different sizes, and it's a lot easier for the vision impaired to see what they are. But here, every bill is the same. If you can't see it, you have no idea. And I've actually seen these things that they sell. It's a little plastic thing, tiny plastic thing, but you put it over the bill and squeeze it, and it punches. It's either Braille or some kind of pattern in there that's meant to help, the vision impaired identify their bills. So I can definitely see that, being an issue. And, we're as a country, I mean, hate to say it, but not so much anymore. But, before the previous year, 9 months or whatever, we were very good about inclusiveness in things. And I'm really surprised that we didn't actually, do something about that with our paper money.
I know that people get sued over even old buildings not having a ramp that people can use to get up.
Yeah, right.
People have had to go in and install those things. So I'm a little surprised that there wasn't anybody saying, you know what, I can't tell what this beer can say. I can't tell if this is a soda can or a beer can. And something needs to happen to let me know that. I'm surprised that there wasn't a lawsuit. I'm not saying there should have been. I'm just surprised that there wasn't. But again,
I don't think there'd really be a case for a lawsuit to against a brewery, something like that. Well, basically, Brian, because there is no mandate that that your beer cans have to be there. So, but maybe a little public outcry that, hey, we'd really like to see this,
Now, technically, again, some of the makers of cans, I think Ball Corp and somebody else, they can actually put Braille on the top, the very lid of it. So technically, they could, basically Braille it and say, "This is beer." This is beer. FYI,
Thanks a lot. Appreciate that information. Yeah. I guess minimal. You don't have a lot of room on the top of a can to put. No, there really isn't.
You've got a lot of real estate on the sides. A ton. But not much on the top. But there's enough to get important messages across, cool. Don't drink this if you're not 21 type of thing or whatever.
Beer, 5% alcohol. You can put the basics
exactly.
Well, good stuff. Well, Brian, before we move along, how about we give a shout out to our sponsor?
Yeah, seems like a good idea. So I'm not going to go with a theme this week because there is nothing at all wrong with walking into your local truck and tap with nothing on your mind and getting a pour of the first beer that sounds good, or the first bourbon, or the first cocktail, wine, or whatever. But I am going to look at the beer tap. So here are my beer picks for the week. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with Sycamore's Macrodose IPA. It's not just any IPA. It's an IPA that's apparently fruited with muscadine grapes and is hopped with Rawaka, Pacific Sunrise, and Mosaic from New Zealand. It sounds like a heck of a trip, and I'm on board with that. So, yeah, a grape IPA. I'm good for that.
IPA. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Muscadine's a little tart. I don't remember.
Yeah, they're not as grapey as other grapes. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'd be into that. And I know some hops have a little bit, forget which varieties they were, have a little bit of a grapiness to them. Anyway, yes, at the Duluth location, I'm getting Creature Comforts Cherry Oud Brune because it's been a while since I've had a Foeder Age fruited sour from Creature Comforts, or any kind of significant sour that's been in a barrel or maybe spontaneous. So the kettle sours, yes, of course, but the cherries come from Michigan, and I'll bet it's excellent because most of these things that Creature Comforts puts out are. So at Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is Wellworks Pog Gelato. I've seen this beer around and I haven't tried it yet. I think I may have had one way back in the studio days. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I don't think I have. Anyway, I do like Pog beers, and I think gelato is great. If you're of the same mind, I think you're going to enjoy this fruited kettle sour with vanilla, passion fruit, orange, guava, and yes, of course, lactose, because we can't escape lactose. So take your pill if you need one.
Bring it on.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Left Hand's Belgian White on the Nitro tap. I may have included this pick in my picks before, but I still haven't had it on Nitro yet. And it seems like something that would be really enjoyable, dangerously easy to drink. And so if you've had it, let me know what you think. At some point, I'm going to do it. I just haven't done it yet. And so there you have my beer picks for the week. As always, if you'd like to see the full list, tap list before swinging by your Truck and Tap, look at truckandtap.com. And if you'd like to see what food trucks are serving and what events are happening and You can also find that at truckandtap.com. In fact, you can find answers to most of your important questions at truckandtap.com. So you should definitely check that out. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap. We appreciate you very, very much. So some good sounding beers there, Brian.
Yeah.
Maybe I can drink that Oud Brewing. Maybe I can get some cherry Oud Brewed in my life.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? Who knows? Well, Brian, moving right along, a big topic of conversation. We always have something to say in the world of NA beer. And, other people have opinions on it. We have opinions on it. And there has been thoughts on the quality of it. Even there's a group out there, Brian, that says the most popular brands of NA beer are still crap. There's some folks out there that definitely say, that there are brands that have, because they are there kind of things. They came out and they said we are a craft beer. My personal opinion, Brian, is that there are some out there that maybe don't taste exactly like a beer, but they're still pretty good. And if you were in a situation to where you couldn't or didn't want to drink alcohol, there's options out there. I also think that some of our very well-established craft breweries have put out some very high-quality offerings that is going to be require everyone to raise the bar, everyone to up their game there. And it's something, Brian, you mentioned the beer from Creature Comforts. In my opinion, that was a turning point for Georgia beer. When Creature Comforts opened up, and much love to all of our breweries that existed before then, but they took things to another level. And that meant that everybody had to step up to that level, or as much as possible to do that. And I hope that that's the case, that as others brew better beers, that everybody tries to do better beers. And Brian, to tie it into our next story, they are saying that rice could be the key to making better tasting NA beer.
Yeah, this was a fun one. And I love stories like this. So we have talked a little recently about rice having a bright future in brewing beyond just making rice lagers. I think we saw some promotional material that was kind of disguised as news. It was more promotional based to promote people using rice. But in addition to what we've already discussed, science tells us rice can have a big positive impact on the flavor of non-alcoholic beer, and that could happen very soon. Like people could start doing this almost right away. Specifically, non-alcoholic beers brewed with rice in the place of some barley and they would have reduced worty flavors, or warts, or however you want to say it. I think the right way is wort.
I think it's wort. Yeah.
Using rice in the place of some barley can reduce that worty flavor due to lower aldehyde levels, and in some cases it can develop some pleasant vanilla and or buttery notes. Higher rice content in non-alcoholic beers also contribute creamier mouthfeel without increasing alcohol content above the non-alcoholic thresholds. Also helpful is that the increased rice content accelerates fermentation due to higher glucose and fructose levels. So not only are we talking about the possibility of improved flavor, but also quicker turnaround times for non-alcoholic beers. But not all rice varieties are equal for brewing. The article I read talked about a study that took a look at 74 different kinds of rice. I had no idea there were 74 kinds of rice. I assumed at most there were half a dozen. So anyway, cultivars with lower amylose content and lower gelatinization temperatures are more suitable for efficient sugar release. That's the faster fermentation. Aromatic rice varieties like jasmine rice are good for imparting the vanilla and buttery notes that were discussed earlier. Non-aromatic varieties and non-alcoholic varieties of rice, they're both, are better at providing a neutral base, allowing for hops and yeast-driven flavors to shine. I'm particularly excited about this. I think this could be the innovation non-alcoholic beer needs to achieve true flavor parity with regular beer. I think they could get very, very close. Another interesting tidbit from the research is that regional flavor preferences are going to be a factor in the mash bill, how these beers are brewed. According to a sensory panel that was run on a variety of rice and barley blends, U.S. panelists preferred a mix of 70% barley to 30% rice for their beer, non-alcoholic beer, while European tasters preferred 30% barley to 70% rice mix. So complete opposite. And those weren't the only options. Those were just the ones that were preferred. I think they did 10% increments. So they would have had a 10%, 90% for both sides of it. And it just happened to be that landed on 70-30, just different
just in different sites.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. Brian, I want to go back to something because you mentioned it a couple times here, and you said aromatic rice varieties like jasmine are good for imparting vanilla or buttery notes. Are buttery notes a good thing in beer? Is what is it? Is it diacetyl? Diacetyl that gives.
I thought about that. I think there are some varieties of beer where that is acceptable. A little diacetyl in there, and I'm trying to think of what's the variety. There are a couple of
where that is appropriate to style to have some diacetyl in there.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, what was it? Was it one of the lagers has a little bit of the threshold of allowable diacetyl? You don't want it like in your IPAs, so maybe like a vanilla notes might work okay in some things, but yeah, you'd have to watch for that buttery flavor. I'm trying to think of what that was.
I can't think
off the top of my head.
Somewhere a vanilla note would be nice, but I can't think of anywhere I necessarily want a buttery character to it there.
Yeah, a limited amount of diacetyl. Maybe it was it maybe like ESBs or something like that? That's acceptable, or certain types of lagers? Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
I'd have to look at. It's been too long since I've looked at the brewing notes of all those various things, but I could see it being acceptable in some places where that is a supportive kind of element to the beer in question. Any place you're using, honestly, maybe like a lactose or something like that, like a pastry, something like maybe you could get away with adding a little rice to fortify that a bit. But the vanilla part would be a lot better, I think.
I'm remembering it now, Brian. So certain English ales, like a best bitter, an ordinary bitter, or an ESB, an English pale ale, an English brown ale, a mild ale, or a Scottish ale, it's apparently appropriate to have low diacetyl levels.
I'm glad you remembered that. I knew there was some.
It was on the tip of my tongue.
I knew. Brian. Okay.
But so I was looking here, and more importantly, here's some like a Vienna lager or Marzen. They said a little bit of diacetyl there could be appropriate, but here's a few that they mentioned, Brian, where they are absolutely a flaw. American lagers and ales, IPAs, especially a West Coast IPA, German pilsners, wheat beers such as Hefeweizen and wit beer, Belgian styles such as a triple double or a saison, and stouts and porters, unless it's from the adjuncts like a butter flavoring, which is rare and usually, I don't know any that use. I don't know anybody that would willingly put butter in their stout.
It does sound like the non-aromatic varieties are talking about. They specifically mentioned their neutralness and how they would allow yeast-driven flavors and hops to shine. So I'm guessing for a lot of those, specifically the Belgians and anything IPA, you're going to want to, if you were using rice, and I think that some IPAs are, to dry them out, are currently brewed with some rice, like just regular alcoholic ones. But in terms of non-alcoholic ones, I don't know if they're doing that right now or not.
So could corn be used as well? Because I believe that's kind of an adjunct used similar to the way rice is, that they'd use corn syrup or maybe a little of both. And I think corn typically does bring a little bit of the corny sweetness to it.
Yeah.
Kind of there. So I guess, again, because a lot of American, especially like the American macro lagers, they've got corn or rice in the bill. Who was it? The big to-do a few years ago where someone called someone out for using corn syrup in there. There was billboards and stuff about that.
Wasn't it like, it was like Bud versus Coors, like Miller Coors and Anheuser-Busch, like somebody was accusing the other of using rice or something like that, and the other one accused I think Coors accused Anheuser-Busch of using, or talked about their rice, and Busch responded by saying, "Hey, you guys just use a bunch of corn syrup."
Right. That was it was basically a pot calling the kettle black thing. It's like, why would you do this?
It's like you guys are both using these adjuncts. Like,
crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Well, Brian, some brewery closure news, and this one was a bummer. I didn't get there much. I drank a few of their beers. I brought some back when we came back from Denver, but True Brewing is closed. A little update here. Bud Light called out Coors and Miller about the corn syrup. Thanks, Zach. We appreciate that. So that's what it was. I knew I remembered that was a big thing. Billboards and everything there for a little while. So.
They went to court over it. I think there was a cease and desist about this whole thing. Got ugly.
But Brian, True Brewing is closing, and when I visited them, went to GABF, a few years back and visited them, their original location there in Denver. But they did eventually open up a location in Asheville. And I never got to the True Brewing in Asheville, but I hear that it was good and popular there. And the post that I saw from the owner of True Brewing said he was especially bummed because he thought the beers they were doing out east was some of the best that the brewery's ever done. But another victim, Brian, 14 years in the business, but I think he got a little bit more info in here about their closure.
Yeah, I got a little bit in the notices and all the articles. There weren't a ton of like specifics about what was the driving factor, but they've been 14 years, like you said. The founder, Nick Nunn, said it was the right time for the brewery to close. It's the right time. And he said there were a huge number of reasons for that, but not specifically saying which reasons or how many of them there are or whatever. So not disclosed, but there's a lot of them apparently. They were established back in 2011, and for people who don't know, and I never visited them, and I may have had one of their beers one time, but they were a very popular spot in both locations for craft beer and for heavy metal music. Despite the popularity of its beers, the brewery has faced a number of challenges and had already closed its Denver production facility last year and moved operations to New Image Brewing. And like you said, they had an Asheville location, and that's going to close alongside of the flagship Denver brewery. True's final day is Saturday, July 12th, which is the day this show drops. So as you're listening to this, probably you should, and if you happen to be in the Denver area, you should definitely stop by. This will be your last chance to do so. What is still up in the air, and what may make the story slightly less grim, is the production and distribution of True beer may still live on, and that's a tentative maybe, because they are still determining if a continued beer production and distribution is possible. Like I said, they are. I think they've got their production actually coming out of New Image Brewing, so it's theoretically possible that some of the beers could continue to be made and distributed. They just won't have any physical presence for you to go drink at. So maybe, but it doesn't sound like that's likely. But who knows?
Yeah, and I think, especially with a brewery that had such a personality that True Brewing did.
Yeah.
Like I said, metal bar brewery there. And I remember going to the one in Denver, going to the restroom, and there's a sign that says restrooms this way. And as you walk down this hall, there's a door there, and it's like, not this one. You walk a little more, and there's another door. It's like, it's not this one either. And then you keep going and finally get to the bathrooms there. But this seems like one that, if they were just in distribution, it would be a little tougher for them to have the same mojo that I think, to be honest, man, any brewery at this point, if you were just a distro brewery, that would be kind of tough.
You'd have to have an absolute killer beer. The problem is there are a lot of absolute killer beers out there already. Even doing that, man, you might still not, be very competitive. So I don't know. It's possible. And that's just left out there as maybe. I think that might be a hopeful thing. Like maybe if, people demanded it enough and we actually start seeing the sales of that stuff, maybe that could continue to happen.
Who knows?
So I kind of hope so. I mean,
we wish them luck, whatever they choose to do there. Definitely wish them luck on that. Well, Brian, on a more positive note, again, this is another Helene update. It's been going on for a while, but it's taken a long time for people to rebuild there. But we got news that Zillacoah Brewing will be releasing their first beer since Helene struck.
Yeah, they only very recently resumed brewing operations. They're releasing the first beer since the facility was severely damaged by Helene 9 months ago. So it's been 9 months. The nearby French Broad River flooded the brewery with 6 feet of water, causing extensive damage and sweeping a lot of the equipment right out of the brewery. I think some of it into the river, some of it all over the terrain around it. So, yeah, it was basically an empty building after the storm, and I had serious doubts when I saw it that Zillacoah would ever be back, because it was empty. Like that whole thing was emptied out. But here they are. The new IPA they're releasing will be available for pickup this weekend. And the label notably has established in 2017 and reestablished in 2025 on it to symbolize the resilience and coming back from a pretty major, devastating storm here. The tap room is not yet open to the public, but Zillacoah plans to reopen mid-August, so very soon when their lagers are ready. So it's going to be open, and they're going to have beer flowing enough to support a tap room. I saw some messages about the beer release telling people to stay in their car because there's no place for them to go at this point. So if you do go over there, if you're in the Asheville area, go get some IPA, but stay in your car, pick it up. You're going to have to drink it elsewhere for a little while, but just a little while longer. And then in August, you can go back over there and have beer again. And I saw they had pictures of it on one of the articles. There were like 3 or 4 articles about this. They have shadow boxes of material that was left over on the floor, the little bit of the scraps that remain, shadow boxes at the water level, 6 feet up, that have remnants of things that were found in the brewery after it flooded out as kind of a reminder. So they've taken that to add character to the place. They're not really they're not trying to celebrate the disaster. They're just saying, like, this happened. Here's a little history.
We had to deal with this.
Yeah, we had to go through this, and here's a little bit of leftover stuff from it. So
interesting.
I think not only did they come back, they might come back. It seems like they're coming back stronger to me. Like already, I'm like, oh wow, they've really got this. I very much enjoyed their beers when I visited, and I was very disappointed, very upset to see them in that state. And I can't believe they've come back as strong as they have. And yeah, awesome. I look forward to going there sometime again soon. Yes.
Great. Yeah. So I enjoyed them, going there, and the resilience to come back from something like that. A lot of folks would have just said, forget it. If you're totally wiped out, just like, especially in this beer climate right now. So good for them that they came back from it. And it's been a long time actually since I've been to Asheville. And I heard people talking recently about breweries have closed, new breweries have opened up. It's just a different scene with the way things are moving there. But I'd like to get back soon. But definitely good to hear positive news, man. We don't get enough positive news out of craft beer these days. So it's nice to hear something positive there. And Asheville's a great town to go have a beer in.
I really want to get back up there more, now more than ever. Just we're farther along. I'm already seeing Zillacoah opening. So I'm like, they've definitely completely recovered. They probably still don't have the tourism numbers they did, because people still are aware of what happened. So they're worried about going there. But now is definitely a very good time. If you have any thoughts about where am I going to go? I'm going to go someplace this summer and have some fun. Go to Asheville. They need the help. They need your dollars. They need your patronage. Go up there. Go have some beers.
The people that are open again or still, they've just renovated. So everything's going to be nice and new. And
that's right.
And they're ready for. You can guarantee that they're ready to get some visitors. After 9 months of going through all of that. To get
for
back
sure
on top. So
you probably get some good hotel deals too, just because there won't be quite the same level of. This is a win all the way around. You definitely. I've talked myself into it. Now I have to go to Asheville.
Now you got the plans. Brian's like, that's a great idea I just had. I think I'm going to follow through with that.
I think I might actually do this one.
I'm brilliant, man. Brilliant.
Yes,
good
indeed.
Stuff. Well, Brian, I think that wraps it up for our show this week. A little bit of a shorter episode this week, but that's okay. We'll give you 10 minutes or so of your life back. And we always appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoy what we're doing here, we would love for you to tell a friend, to check out the show, subscribe, share your favorite episode on your social media. Tell people to check it out. We greatly appreciate that. If you really enjoy what we're doing, go to patreon.com/beerguys. We'd love your support, and we'll get you in our Patreon-only Discord chat. We'll send you some cool swag. We'll send you invites to the after parties after we tape the show each week. But with all that said, we hope that you have a really, really good week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.